Flora!
And welcome to the first ever live version of Bikes and Bourbon. That's right, we're trying this live. Hopefully it won't be a complete train wreck.
Can we still call it Bikes and Bourbon if we're not drinking bourbon?
That's true. It's mostly Scotch. And what do you have there?
American single malt.
Nice.
Kind of like a Scotch.
So a little bit about why we're doing this. We want to create a little bit more interactive content in the next couple of weeks because everyone's on lockdown. And we're experimenting with doing Zoom interviews and bringing in a live guest and then broadcasting it to YouTube Live as well. So this is going to be kind of a trial run for that. We've got a couple of special guests lined up. If you guys in the comments can let us know if the audio sounds good, that would be awesome. We've got Bearclaw that might chime in. Our friend Jude, formerly from Sugar Wheelworks, is going to chime in. GravelStoke on Instagram is going to chime in, hopefully. And Eric Spinney from the YouTube channel Spindatt is also on the docket. And we will see what happens. Typically, if you're a streaming nerd, I use OBS, and we're using Zoom instead of OBS, streaming to YouTube. But hopefully we can take in live guests. And you guys could ask some questions in the YouTube chat. So yeah.
So what you're saying, Russ, is this is kind of going to be a variety show.
Yeah, it's a variety show, and it's a variety show held together with like duct tape and twine. If you guys could see the computer setup here, it is like a hot mess.
It's a little ridiculous with the cables plugged into cables plugged into cables.
Cool. So audio is sounding good. So before the guests chime in, if you guys let us know where you're coming in from. So Chris and Allie from Tulsa. Awesome. Who else? Jen, also from Tulsa. Nice to see you. Jane Lee from Los Angeles. Jane lives from Los Angeles. Awesome. So we've got some folks from all over. So what are we drinking?
I am drinking Delbach. What is it? It's the Gerace. American single malt whiskey.
Where are they based out of?
Tucson. We picked this up when we were there. Also went on a really nice tour of their facility, which was pretty cool because they do a tasting at the end.
Yeah. And I am drinking Highland Park Walnut. I have no idea what Walnut means. Maybe it means walnut. Who knows? It's a Scotch, so none of these are bourbon. So cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. If you're drinking along with us, let us know. All right, we got Omaha, Redwood City, California, Albany, New York, Chad from Colorado Springs, Florida. Awesome. Burlington, Vermont. We just spoke with some folks that help run the Burlington Coffee Outside. Detroit, Boulder, Connecticut, Richmond, Virginia. Have you run into Dave? Have you run into Matt from Crest Bikes yet? He recently moved out to Richmond. Huntington Beach. Nice. Pittsburgh. Okay, Pete's got some Elijah Craig. Sweet. Nice. So I don't know how many of you guys are whiskey connoisseurs, but tasty stuff. What do you think of the Delbach?
I like it. I'm sorry, I just don't know. I don't have the vocabulary to talk about it, but I do like it. I think it's got a lot of good flavor.
It's smoky.
It is smoky, but it's not like tire fire smoky like some of your scotches.
Right. So I think what's we did the whiskey tour over at their distillery, and they smoke it with, was it mesquite? Mm-hmm. So kind of like a Scotch. Right here, yeah, they can't call it a Scotch because it's not from Scotland, so it's got another name. You said it was
American single malt, right. Which
okay, so we've got Dave calling in. Dave, are you, hold on.
He's not quite here. He's only halfway through the process of
okay.
That's why it says can't hear you yet.
So let's see.
I like that we have a lot of other great whiskeys being represented here.
It's Dave. Hi there, Dave. Can you guys see Dave? I think you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself.
Okay, how's that?
All right, that's perfect. So Dave has the Instagram GravelStoke. Can you tell us a little bit about GravelStoke for those that aren't familiar?
Wow. Yeah, I was trying to think
about
that. Yeah, sure. Who's on the line here? Is it?
Well, it's just you and I so far on the Zoom, but this is broadcasting to YouTube Live, so we've got people from all over the world watching at this moment.
Okay.
No pressure.
It's just us. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. Started GravelStoke a couple years ago. It's kind of funny. Like, I mean, you guys have been in this world a lot longer than I have, but it's hard to believe. A couple years ago, the word gravel was like hadn't really totally caught on yet. And it was, I mean, some brands were using it, but you would noticeably see, other brands, like you wouldn't find it at all, like on their website, like major brands. So it was a little bit, for me, I loved the idea of gravel riding and the whole atmosphere of it. Obviously there was a lot of events at that time already, but I wanted to kind of create a community and a brand sort of around gravel. At that time, there really wasn't anything out there that really was what I was looking for. So I kind of created something that I would want to be a part of. And I love kind of art and design and creating. So it's kind of a creative outlet for me as well.
Right. Cool. So you're based in San Diego. And it looks like Jason from Bearclaw has joined us. Jason, I don't know. I can see you've got a mic. I don't know if you've got a video camera. Hopefully you can see your face as well. What's the gravel scene like in San Diego?
It's interesting. I tried to persuade you to come visit, but I guess
things happened.
Yeah, things
we ran out of time.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe next round once this thing blows over. So I think it's pretty good. Like the scene here is mostly, I've only lived here for 8 years. So I grew up in Connecticut, moved out to California in 2010, but it's like very heavily influenced by like road and triathlon here. I think a lot of people choose to live here because they can train all year long and do, these types of riding all year. Right. So obviously access to the ocean, it's great for swimming and those kinds of sports. And then the mountainside it's pretty healthy. We have a lot of industry here, actually, like Canyon, different wheel brands. But the mountain riding to me was really kind of, mountain biking for me was really the primary way I enjoyed riding. And then I did road riding for commuting mainly. And then kind of doing both disciplines, I've figured out all these different ways to connect to road and dirt. And so obviously like getting a bike that could do everything made a ton of sense to me. So once these bikes started being available, I was like, yep, that's exactly what I need. I don't really need anything else. So it made a ton of sense to me. And here it's a diversity of like horse trails and like man-made gravel paths to single track to kind of roads that are a little bit more remote that you can enjoy with not a lot of cars. So that's the kind of stuff we ride. Bike paths too.
Yeah, cool. Well, speaking of more capable bikes, Jason, are you there? I saw he was there and he disappeared for a bit.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. So everyone, this is Jason from the brand Bearclaw. Got a chance to review 2 of your bikes now, the Bo Jackson first and then the Thunder Hawk. How are things going?
You've got a nice fire there.
Yeah, thanks. I just set this up in about 37 seconds. I can't see you right now. I've got my phone like saran wrapped to a pole.
That's a pro move, man.
I'm gonna try to get you on my other phone.
Nice.
So I can see your faces. Yeah, this is the upstairs of Bearclaw headquarters. The Bourbon room.
So is Bearclaw basically just you, or do you have other partners?
I have partners. I have a small crew, and we're split between 2. I guess I don't need to see you. I can hear you. we're split between Traverse City and Moran, Michigan, which there's about 300 people in Moran, Michigan, here in the Upper Peninsula. Yeah. So we just got this building here in Moran, and my production manager actually just bought a house up here. He's moving up, and we have help. So backstory, I mean, cut the short. This all started from a bike shop, Einstein Cycles, which is still going. So I have help from the staff at Einstein, but the big part of the Bearclaw show is Dustin and myself.
Mm-hmm. Cool. How have the bikes been selling?
Great. It's been pretty busy. Obviously, it's slowed down in the last few weeks, but it's picked up just in the last couple days, actually. But better than we could have ever anticipated, I guess. So we're busy, but it's pretty. Yeah.
That sounds good.
We're pretty excited about being. You don't know anything about this region, I'm sure, but eastern Upper Peninsula of Michigan, there's not a whole lot going on. It's beautiful up here. This is where I'm from, and it's just good to be back here and to have to get the rest. Like, it's right. Dustin moving up here is going to be huge because right now there's a lot of work between Traverse City and here, but we're all trying to just be here.
Yeah. So Dave, have you had a chance have you checked out the Bearclaw in person yet?
No, I haven't, but I did watch your video recently and it looks pretty sweet. The titanium one, right?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like one reason I was really attracted to them was because of that titanium fork. Like, for whatever reason, you just don't see too many Ti forks on the market. So I was super curious to see how that would ride. So Jason, like, what you've iterated the fork a couple times. Like, how has it changed over time?
It's one of the biggest changes we made with the fork was just we changed the legs from a 32 millimeter leg to a 35 millimeter leg, and it really helped with the ride. It was a little soft, which people really liked the previous version, but I like a little bit stiffer fork. But it's like this fork with the larger tubing. I think we did a really good job with that. It feels really good now. It's not too soft, but it's a lot softer than a carbon fork, really.
Yeah. So you guys on YouTube chat, if you guys have any questions for Dave from GravelStoke or Jason from Bearclaw, feel free to ask, and I'll relay the message to them. I don't think they're seeing the chat box like I am, but I can pass questions on.
I'm gonna get the most.
Was that the most expensive bike you've reviewed, Russ?
The most expensive bike I ever reviewed was actually the Breadwinner G Road, like Tony's bike. Once you include all the the custom frame and the components and everything, that's probably the most expensive. But the Thunderhawk is probably second. So it's a sweet riding bike. Yeah, was pretty stoked on it. So what bikes are you excited about, Dave?
So yeah, I've got my two bikes right now up here. So this was one I got recently. It's a Ritchie Ultra Hardtail. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, I guess, between a cross country and a more trail geometry bike. And it's my first steel bike actually, and I'm like loving it. I had a full suspension carbon before this that I sold, and got this, and I'm really happy with it.
Cool.
So unfortunately, all the trails are closed right now. So I took it on a road ride yesterday.
Yeah.
And then behind that is I don't know if you've ridden this, but the Exploro.
I've not. I've seen lots of photos.
Yeah. So that's the new Axis Mullet.
Okay.
Build. So yeah, I don't need to do all the hacking that you do. I just get this, and then it's good to go. But yeah, I've had that for not too long actually, but I had a previous version with the Force before that. But this is my first electronic shifting bike, and it's super nice. I'm enjoying it.
Cool. So we've got a question for Jason. B. Balgath asked, how did you decide to start your own bicycle brand / company?
Well, there's like a 30-second difference between here and so. Sorry. We actually were selling fat tire bikes at the bike shop, and that scene kind of exploded. I guess that was 5-6 years ago, and we couldn't get any more fat bikes for people, and people were buying really nice fat tire bikes. We were surprised. They're spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on fat bikes, and I had considered the idea of starting a bike brand for a few years, just kind of dabbling in it, and that just turned from, this is a long story, very short, really just diving into it. And we originally were just going to rebrand some frames, and then we're like, no, we think we can design a better fat bike frame. So we just went for it. We convinced a bank to give us some money, which is kind of cool. And we took a big chance. We designed that was our belt, as our carbon fat bike, and the Blitzen fork, and we sold, I think, 100 of those in a year or so, and we learned a lot about carbon, and we were actually about to do a carbon gravel bike, and we just the idea of we'd had complete success with the fat bike, just great, but we still, being a bike shop, seeing carbon and the issues that can come with carbon, we are not a just big enough company to manage that. If we come out with a carbon gravel frame and they all break, we're done. So we started experimenting with titanium, and we just kind of fell in love with that. And we haven't really, luckily, we learned a lot about carbon fiber from the fat bike design and the fork design for the Balthasar. And now everything that we work on is just, if we have a new bike idea, we just love everything about titanium.
Yeah, cool. Has it been harder or easier than you expected? I think that answers it.
Yeah. Well, I don't. If you knew me, I guess I don't. I'm not much of a planner. Don't take that the wrong way. It's safe. Our bikes are safe. We know what we're doing. But no, I didn't really have expectations. It was just what's in front of us, and learning that we can actually, we can have design ideas, and we can work with manufacturers to create these things. It's just fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's been really, it's actually been pretty smooth, surprisingly. We're still we're talking about a couple new bike designs now, and it's because we're a smaller company, it's easier for us to do that. We're not selling thousands of bikes.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm going to welcome in someone else that just jumped on. This is our friend Jude from Sugar Wheelworks, or formerly Sugar Wheelworks. I'm sorry. How are you doing, Jude?
I'm doing really good. Snuggled out on my front porch. Yeah,
I love this look that you've got going on there. Are your arm? Is it like a wearable blanket? Oh, it's a vest.
Yeah, it's his wearable sleeping bag.
Oh, okay. Is it the Polar or is it something else?
It's the Polar.
It's a Polar. Yeah.
Yeah. My husband says it's the least sexiest outfit I can wear, but I love
it. Right.
Well, sleeping bags aren't supposed to be sexy, right?
Right? He doesn't know what's up.
Right.
I'm on the front porch with my pup here.
Nice.
So Jude, since you've passed on Sugar, you've been doing some small business consulting. Is that right?
Yeah. I have been doing some small business consulting, and I was actually planning on taking a couple months off, ironically, from March 15th through you know, through like June or July. But then obviously things changed. A few trips got canceled. I'm supposed to be in Moab now, mountain biking. And it's just really a time for me to plug in, especially with the small IBDs. So I've been doing a lot of free business consulting and just learning what resources that are out there and how I can support a lot of those shops. So, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
it
all
seems
in
like
this
crazy.
together.
Yeah, it seems like crazy times. Like bike shops without like a strong like online retail presence, like they really have to pivot.
Yeah.
So that's what. So Jude's going to be a guest on a virtual coffee outside this Friday, I think, or actually it's more like brunch, brunch time. But we're going to talk with Jude about life after sugar, and also some kind of just like high level tips that, you know, businesses or IBD should consider in what's kind of our new reality.
Yeah.
So any teasers?
Well, I think the thing that I'm really learning through all of this is that no one, and it's probably something that will come up time and time again, is no one has been through this exact scenario before. It's really unprecedented and historical times. And we do better if we can come out of our silos and connect with other people and to leverage our current offerings instead of reinventing the wheel. So just kind of keeping those things in mind. I think most of the things that I'm doing to help folks is right now just getting in the shit with them, and being a good thought partner through these times and helping them create those short-term and long-term plans. So I'm really envious of that fireplace that's going on there.
Yeah,
I know.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah, I can see you guys now.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
Jude,
that's
that's Jason from Bearclaw, and we've also got Dave. He's in San Diego, and he's got a brand called GravelStoke. So everyone,
right
Jude.
on. Right on. I'm spending a lot more time riding and running these days, so it's a good time to be in the outdoor industry.
Yeah. One of the things I think I'll ask you now, but also ask you on our Friday brunch is, you know, biking is such like a social activity, and like so many bike shops hang their hat on like being a good community resource. Like what do you do now that you can't congregate, you know, in person?
Oh my God, Russ, you're doing such a great job of that. It's all about like checking in with people, I think. Sharing your ride books. I've seen that from a few different places. And I think, you know, one of Portland's famous events, Pedalpalooza, is going to look a little bit different this year as well. And I think that we just have to adapt our, like, the tactics, but keep the spirit in the things that we do. And I see a lot of creativity and flexible thinking out there in the world right now. And it's pretty damn exciting.
Yeah, I saw Eileen Crotty's kind of putting a virtual twist on the Film by Bike Festival.
Genius.
Yeah. So
yeah,
if you guys
I'm signed up. It's you know what the new date night looks like, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar on the YouTube chat with Film by Bike, you know, it was like a bicycle film festival based in Portland. You know, a couple days of festivities, and our friend Eileen's since packaged it for other advocacy groups to use. And you know, they do lots of fun stuff, but of course, this year they had to completely do a 180 and make the whole film festival virtual, but still keep the spirit of the event.
But I think it's really cool. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really interesting because, you know, it's film, so it's going to translate just fine to being able to watch. And so, you know, and Eileen's a creative person. She's
very creative.
I trust her to come up with something really awesome. So I'm excited.
And it's the best of. That's what I'm excited about.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ben Weaver's performing, I hear.
Oh, is he doing like a virtual concert?
I think so.
Yeah. Cool. So Dave, do you have any thoughts on like how one can keep up the GravelStoke when, you know, kind of group rides are verboten?
Yeah. Keep riding, you know. Just yeah, it is tough because out here we have to go, it seems like, pretty far to get like a decent gravel road where it's open because it's an actual road. It's not like a local trail. So it's tough to get out there and find the dirt right now, but still, I just kind of did a 30-mile loop last night, and it was just kind of cool to see people walking and biking around, checking out kind of the coastal area because they closed all the beaches, and just kind of interesting to see it. A little less crowded than maybe normal. Something that we have that we've created is kind of this team. It's not like a typical team, since I have no idea what that would actually entail. But we have 150 gravel riders across the US on our development team, we call it. And so we connect on Slack and a Facebook group. So like we've been connecting virtually for a while now. So it's nice to kind of have that already built in. So if you guys want to start communities out there, I mean, people are certainly craving connection. So that's a great way to kind of keep at least the community vibe going.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've been kind of discussing like creating another community platform for the YouTube channel, either Slack or some like virtual bulletin. Haven't quite, landed on a particular platform. Do you have any? You use Slack? Do you like it?
Yeah. So the first year it was really hard. It's like we did Facebook and Slack, and it's like people are so, they're already using Facebook for whatever else. I can't stand it though, because it's so distracting. Like, yeah, it's hard to just have your undivided attention on, one thing. Plus, yeah, it's Facebook.
Yeah.
So Slack, it's actually great. If people use it, a lot of people use it for work maybe. So it's a little bit different venue to have it for kind of a fun community thing. But I actually know that Rodeo Labs is actually where I heard that those guys were using it for their kind of team. So somebody was involved with that in the past, so they recommended it. So I've got a few people that I help kind of moderate it and keep it going. So we can post pictures and links, and it's pretty useful. So I'd recommend at least trying it. But if there's other suggestions, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Jude, have you heard of any other good community building platforms?
No.
Put you on the spot.
I don't overthink these kinds of things. I'm also like way more introverted than people think that I am. I mean, I just get on my bike and like I plinko through things, and I'm like, oh, cool. That was like 40 miles. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
Sorry,
been.
You want me? You should text me like the things I'm supposed to say, because
right.
like,
I'll do that now.
I'm free.
Yeah, we've been. I mean, I've considered Slack, but it's just it's another platform to keep up. We're experimenting with this stuff. Like typically, we've done live streams in the past, but it's been always a broadcast and no kind of real time interaction. So when I learned that I could get Zoom to stream via YouTube, I was like, oh, this is a cool way to have a live stream, but still have kind of like a real-time conversation, invite guests on and everything. So this is something we're experimenting with. Yes, Jude.
I know. I've been trying to bring the hand raising back because it's so much, it's so exciting. I've been like, it's so fun to watch people really get familiar with these online platforms. I actually just what do I say? I let go riding with Dan Morgan a lot, or at least like about once a month, I would say, or I'd like to go once a month. And really, it's just for me, it's about knowing someone with good routes, showing up, and just following. It's like pure bliss for me. I never know where I'm going, or how long it is, or how much climbing there is. But I know I'll always have a good time.
Yeah.
I love those kind of rides where you could just follow somebody who knows where they're going, and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like we know the folks over at Ride with GPS, they launch a new product called Collections. That's a good way to kind of do your solo ride, peep on other people's routes and still get out there. So I'm going to welcome. We've got a new person on, Angus. Hey there, Angus.
How's it going, guys?
So we met Angus at Golden Saddle. He came to our art show.
Oh, you remember?
Yeah. And you also did one of the rides that we posted, speaking about like putting up a ride and having people ride it. What do you think of it?
Dude, there was a section there where it didn't look steep, but we all ended up hiking our bike. It was so loose. And then my friend took a video of me. I was literally hunched over my handlebars, like crying. I'm like, oh my God, my lungs. But yeah, it's amazing. But the sketchy part was, and you were so sly about it in your video, you just made a quick mention of it saying that, oh, by the way, you're passing through private property. Holy crap, we got yelled at, dude.
Oh, you did?
Yes. Really? We got yelled at the main gate right before the highway. You guys aren't supposed to be here. And then I played dumb. I said, I'm so sorry. We were supposed to make a left somewhere up there. We came from Sunland, blah, blah. It's okay. It's an honest mistake. But yeah, I was so freaking out because, those people are armed over there, man. That's West, that's the wild, wild West over there. So
yeah, there's supposed to be an easement. You're supposed to be able to ride through there.
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah, we did a fair amount of research because there is that part because when you come down that lock gate, it doesn't say, private property. It's only until after you pass it. So like on the MTB project app, it says that there was like an easement, and I was like, okay, it seems like legit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, probably after the area where you guys saw the coyote, I would probably turn around from there.
Yeah.
Because, you can still continue uphill for another, quarter mile, half a mile. But yeah, the moment you start hitting that downhill section, you will hit that gate and it is all private property, but it's an awesome ride though.
Yeah.
Well, the Verdugo's is literally my backyard, so I need to do that one of these days.
Nice.
Well, if you do the Conover Fire Road route, that is all like legit. There's no like gates you have to cross or anything. That's super fun also.
Nice.
Yeah, there's all sorts of roads back in there that you can just connect to. And
yeah, definitely going back too. I mean, I used to live in that area. I used to live right there on McVine way back when. So totally, yeah, I mean, who knew that all those trails were out there? It's amazing.
Yeah. Who knew, right, Russ?
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Well, YouTube chat, if you guys have any questions for the people that are on, I think we've still got everyone. So Dave from GravelStoke is here. Jason from Bearclaw, our friend Jude. You guys can ask each other questions too. It doesn't have to just go through us. We're just providing guided conversation.
So nervous right now.
I think we should just focus right here on your nice fireplace for a little while.
I know.
Yeah, it's about 100 degrees in here right now, but it's worth it every second.
It's snowing in Montana, so that 100 degrees sounds nice.
It's probably snowing here too, but it just doesn't snow indoors here.
It is 73 degrees.
Cool. Well, if I would just give a couple of quick channel updates to the people watching on YouTube. We just posted 3 video reviews. It was 1 video, but 3 products. Bike packing boots, oval chain rings, a new rack from Crust. And I just got this cool little gadget here. And what this does is if you have a 12 millimeter through axle, it converts it to quick release. So if you have a dynamo wheel that's through axle and you also have like a classic rando bike that's quick release, you can just stick this in there and it'll work on both bikes. So I'm excited to test that out.
Because that's a real world scenario here, isn't it?
That is. I have many bikes, many types of wheel attachments. Did you guys know that these things existed? Like little through axle quick release adapters?
I bet Jude knew.
Yeah. Cool. Looks like we logging on is Eric Spinney. If you guys in the YouTube chat are familiar with the YouTube channel Spindatt, Eric still connecting, but he will be in the room soon. You can also ask him questions. So let's see what the YouTube chat says. Curtis Curlo says more drinking.
Cheers.
Cheers, Curtis.
Nice.
I haven't even opened up a bottle yet. Sorry.
No. What you got there?
Oh God, they ran out of my Japanese whiskey, so this is just some Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. I'm sorry.
Honey.
Well, I do have this.
As long as you don't pull out the fireball, then we're okay.
And I do have this.
Okay.
So, I mean, I have options right now.
Yeah. So Tito's you can't use for hand sanitizer, in case you were wondering. So Eric Spinney, you look like you're still muted. Ping him to start his video. So cool. Let's see. Any other questions in the chat? So Talking Fly, cheers. I think he's based out of Utah. That's what I love about doing these live streams is like you'll see kind of familiar names and they'll chime in. I saw our friend Eileen from Film by Bike was on. We were talking about her and how she pivoted a bike film festival into a virtual event. So that's pretty cool.
This weekend, right?
This weekend?
It's this weekend.
Yeah. Cool. What else?
What do you guys think about Sea Otter? You think they'll be able to pull that off in the fall?
I don't. I think that's optimistic. we moved our reservations, but I'm fully expecting to cancel. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I think the thing that's going to be hardest is that everybody who had something this spring or summer has canceled and moved it to this very narrow window in September and October. So there's just going to be so much competition. Even if life is back to normal, I think they're going to have a hard time drawing the same number of people because there's going to be 10 other things going on that weekend.
Right. So really quickly, I'm going to welcome in Eric Spinney. Say something. I think you might still be on mute. I'm going to unmute you.
No, you're
working.
Oh, whoops. Hey. So if you guys are Eric, tell people really quickly about your YouTube channel if they're not familiar.
I am the creator behind the Spindatt YouTube channel. Mostly just hitting things with hammers, pretending to be cooler than I am. Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. I mean,
that's the internet, right?
Right? Like.
So Eric's got a great channel if you're into bike hacks and budget builds and doing lots of, kind of mechanical things. Like you used to work at a bike shop. I'm like a complete hack. Everything I learned was from YouTube. So I always get like the shit when I do things.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I worked at a shop for 3 years and I worked on all sorts of stuff, but like, it's funny how much people don't actually know. Like, yeah, I have your $10,000 road bike back here. Do not come back here. I'm going to hit it with a hammer. Like, that is what's going to happen. I just don't want you to see it. So I just show that. And like, no one has really given me any flack for any of it, because I think most people know. But like, yeah, no, it is fun to just show. Like, yeah, this is what it is. Like, I don't care how expensive something is. Like, things get hit with hammers. Like, that's what this tool is for. You hit it with a hammer. That's what it is.
Nice.
So I've got a question for you as a YouTube creator to YouTube creator. Like with all the COVID stuff going on, are you finding it difficult to continue to make the same kind of light bikey content?
A little bit. It always it's been coming up in the last like 4 videos where I'm like, yeah, things are weird right now. But like, it's not weird on the East Coast of Canada because like we have 100 cases here. Like, yeah, no one's quarantined, but we're like, okay, just be careful and don't go to like public parks. But I'm like still allowed to go ride. Like even this past weekend, we went and did a ride with, 4 people, but I felt weird about making a video about it. I was like, I don't want to like upset people, so I'm gonna not shoot a video because I don't want to hear about it in the comments. Like, those are the effects that I'm seeing. So like now I'm spending more time in the shed, and I get tired of that. I'm like, I know people don't hate it, but I'm like, I only have so many parts that I can like move from one bike to another until I just don't have the energy anymore.
Until you have to buy new parts. I actually just did that. I ordered parts for Cave of Bad Ideas because I've used up all the parts I was going to make videos of.
Yeah.
So do you know about the new box components 9-speed stuff?
Yes. I was
They've
just
got a whole 9 is fine, 9-speed, 11 to 50, like massive cassette, but in only 9 steps. So I'm gonna turn the crest bikes into like a drop bar apocalypse bikes.
I like that. Like that's kind of what like my crappy commuter is, with that like 8-speed cassette and the like, 8-speed shifter, but 10-speed parts everywhere else. I thought that would upset people, and everyone was like, that's pretty cool that you did that. And I'm like, oh, everyone's so positive. I'm looking for some negativity here.
Right. Right. So YouTube chat, if you guys have any questions for Eric Spinney while we have him here, Jude, our friend Angus, Dave from GravelStoke, and Jason from Bearclaw, don't be afraid to ask. If you guys could see our screen, it's a hot mess.
It's crazy.
I'm juggling a YouTube live control room and Zoom at the same time, and there's like massive lag between the two. So Eric, is this your first live thingy? Yeah.
Yes.
Or it's on Zoom, I guess, but it's by proxy going to YouTube.
Yeah, I've never ever done this, and people have asked me to do it, and I'm like, why would I do this?
I didn't even realize this is live stream. I thought it was just us, and now I'm a little embarrassed.
Yikes!
Yikes! I'm like, oh crap! Is this gonna go to YouTube for real? Like, oh my god! I mean, I watch, your Wrench Tuesday spin.
Yes.
I subscribe to you, so it's like, oh crap! I got YouTubers there. I'm a nobody.
You're not a nobody.
Although I have followed the budget mullet on my event in Quixote, and that worked out great, and I appreciate those videos that you did put out, Russ, because they actually guided me a lot. I actually posted some photos on my Instagram. I was literally in my bedroom putting in a 50-tooth cassette, adding a bar end shifter on it, and then got the Shimano GRX on it, completely all mechanical cable and everything, and it actually worked. So
nice.
that was cool. But yeah, that's my only contribution to this.
Yeah, I love it when you mix and match parts that shouldn't work or isn't advertised as not working, and then it's like they actually work well. So yeah.
I feel like everything is advertised to not work together.
Right.
Like they don't, like all of these manufacturers are like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like I test everything. I'm like, I don't believe you that a 7-speed Altus derailleur will not work with an 11-speed Di2 shifter. I need to try it.
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't work. All right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
So I think
on what I made when I built, I spent, let's see, the bar and shifter was what, $60. The cassette was $40. The most expensive one on my list was the GRX long cage. That was around $80. But in the grand scheme of things, compared to an ETAP, the SRAM, I mean, God, fraction of a cost, and I'm able to have a 50-tooth cassette. Yeah, and it worked great so far. It's working great.
Yeah, so Jason from Bearclaw is on the Zoom, and he sent over a very nicely built Thunderhawk, which is still here. I'm awaiting the box so I can ship it back to him. And it's the first time I've used electronic shifting. So it's got the Axis ETAP. I did a video, kind of my thoughts on it. It's awesome, I think, if you can afford it, but it's almost like luxury pricing, for what it does. At least in my opinion. I don't know. I'd rather get nice wheels first. I think you would agree, right? That should be your first upgrade is nice wheels.
Yes, I agree. Like, I don't know. You can crash with nice wheels and they'll probably be okay. It's hard to crash. Like crashing with nice drivetrains is just like, oh man, I shouldn't have fell over drive side and I had no control. And now this derailleur's gone.
So is that how you base your decisions on which gear to get? Is this worth crashing on?
Yes. Like, okay, I can crash a stem. Yeah, I can spend money on a stem because it will always survive a crash.
Nice.
So Jason from Bearclaw, if you're listening, like I was very careful with the bike. Like I was like, there's this rocky single track bit. Like I'm not gonna try to thread the needle, just so that the rear derailleur wouldn't snap off.
Oh man, I told you to just go for it with it. You know, like I beat the crap out of mine for a year, and it survived a trip to Iceland and shoved in and out of the back of a van for 10 days. And we literally, for part of the movie we were making, which will be released in about 50 years, we were throwing it into the side of the mountain. This is an Axis bike. You know, that doesn't sound like a good idea, but it's a good way to test the product, I guess. And I've had I know it's not the cheapest thing in the world. It's actually probably the most expensive thing, but it is really great. The Axis stuff, as you got a chance to ride it, it's just effortless shifting and covered in mud and that. You don't have to think about your shifting. It is, you know, you got to save up, but it's proven to hold up, to take a good beating.
Were you in Iceland for the Rift gravel event, or just a different trip?
We just happened to be over there. That was we were just over there. It would turn into we were filming, and we have 10 days of footage of this character, this real Chet Bearclaw, very real character, running. It ended up being Chet just running around in Iceland in blue jeans. The bikes are like 2 minutes of the 40 minutes of video. So we hauled all these bikes over to Iceland, and then we just filmed Chet Bearclaw running around in his Canadian tuxedo through the mountains. Nice. Yeah, it'll make all kinds of sense.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
So let's see. Any other questions in the YouTube? So someone asked, Sandro Chiabra asked, fork suspension on gravel bike or dropper post if you had to pick one?
Dropper post.
With that, dropper post?
Yep.
Yeah. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, that's I wouldn't even ask that question. That's a no-brainer. Dropper post. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of I've only used a dropper post for the first time this year, and it was on 2 different review bikes. And at first I was like, yeah, but actually, like, I felt like it made a difference, even on like a paved descent, just being able to kind of get lower in there.
I've never, I mean, Dustin just made that video putting suspension on one of his gravel bikes, and that it looks fun, but it toes the line of a cross-country bike just way too much for me. Like, when I look at it, I see someone local to me actually just put drop bars on an Epic, and I was like, well, that looks more fun than what Dustin built. Whereas a gravel bike with the dropper post, I'm like, well, that makes sense to me, because depending on where you take your gravel bike, getting the seat out of the way is going to be a way bigger advantage than, 50 mils of suspension travel ever is going to. So
right,
maybe both, or just do the dropper post. That would be my pretty much guaranteed.
What fork did he use? Was it like one of the super short travel?
Yeah, it was like
forks?
A Fox, like 40 mil something rather.
Yeah, but it weighed like what, 3 pounds or so?
Oh,
He was complaining that it was, it added significant amount of weight in his front end.
Yeah, and then like when you could just run a bigger tire with lower pressure, I think you'd be better off lower pressure tire on a decent wheel setup with a dropper post every day of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
What about a suspension stem instead?
Have you ever used one?
I haven't, but I'm curious about it.
I had one of those like ones with an elastomer in it on one of the bikes that Schwinn sent, and once it like broke in and started working, it just felt broken all the time. But it was actually working. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I cannot stand this. It's such a strange spot to feel movement if you're so used to like not that I've ever run a wildly stiff stem, but I've certainly not had ones that moved. And I couldn't get over it. I was just like, I want this to stop. So I put something different on for a little bit before using those parts for something else.
Yeah, we've used the Redshift ones, and I feel like they're pretty subtle. You know, they're not like super active, even compared to the Future Shocks. I mean, the Specialized still doing those. I felt like those were like it was really obvious what was going on, but with the I don't know, the Redshift, it was there. It was kind of like, you know, adding another 15 millimeters of width to your front end in terms of like a putting on a fatter tire. That it had a similar sensation. And the best part is, if you didn't like it, you could take it off, and you know, without like without messing around with like the internal stuff in the steerer tube. So
yeah, I don't understand these gimmicks, right? Like the Future Shock or any of these things that you can kind of add to the hardware of the bike when it's a 700C bike. Like I ride 650 because I get that, you know, suspension built in, and I can easily play with that with different tire casings and these things. So yeah, like I've tried the Lauf, I think. Not sure I've tried any of the suspension stems or C posts, but you know, for me, I'd rather have a 650 bike where I have kind of equal distribution of the suspension that I can dial in versus just having it on the front. There's a disconnect for me when I was riding that compared to a 650 setup.
Yeah.
So
there's a question in the YouTube comments. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of the Chamois Hagar, the mountain bike high trail coming to gravel bikes. Yay or nay? Any thoughts?
I'll take one. Yeah.
I like the name.
It's a good answer, actually. Like to look at it, I hate looking at it, but I want to ride one really bad. Like I can't stand the side profile of it. I just think it's ridiculous, but like it probably is super fun.
So where does that land on your wheel, Russ?
That would be in terms of climbing, Drunken Goat for sure. like I think it looks like a fun bike, like going downhill, but I just, you know, I listened to a podcast that they did with, I think it was Velo News, and they were talking about, you know, it's high trail, but there's some magic with the axle to crown, and it doesn't ride like crap going uphill. And I don't know.
I'm trying to get of that fork though throws me off. It's, you know, I feel like, okay, is there enough strength in that joint that if I hit a rock or something, is that just going to push forward?
Yeah,
I mean, that's, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's an expensive, beautiful bike, but that angle of that fork just really totally throws me off. I see it as a regular mountain bike with drop bars. Yeah. That's just visually, that's how it looks to me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. I would love to ride one and try one, of course. I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah, I'm suspending. My initial reaction is like, I don't know that if I'd like that, but I'd suspend judgment just to see if they actually pulled something off that, you know, that can't be accounted for in terms of just like
there's
a trail
no
number.
way that they made it steer half decent at low speeds. There's no way.
Right.
It's not possible. Maybe not.
Just go faster.
There you go.
Yes.
Just put that e-motor on it, and then bam, you're
just buy a motorcycle.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for joining me on our inaugural live Bikes and Bourbon and testing out this Zoom kind of conference call streaming to YouTube. I wish I could show you a picture of like the desk here, because it's literally, you know, half a dozen wires making this thing work. So yeah, well, thanks for joining us,
everyone.
Cheers if you're drinking. Definitely check out everyone's stuff here. So Dave from GravelStoke, Jason from Bearclaw, we just reviewed his bike. Angus, what's your IG?
Mangus 7175. I'm a nobody, but follow.
And then
if you're local, let's go for a ride when all this crap is over. for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Eric Spinney from Spindatt, another fellow YouTuber. And I think that's it. So as always, keep the supple side down, ending the stream.